Hello friends, this video on the fundamental unit of life, part 5 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now starts our next topic, that is the structure of cell. Now let us see how actually was the structure of a cell observed, or how can we even now observe the structure of a cell. So let us try to experiment with a sample of onion peel, right? So go to your kitchen, take an onion and just cut out the peel of it. So you take the peel of the onion and place it under the microscope in your science lab, right? So what happens when you observe that onion peel with the help of the microscope? You see a structure like this, a structure similar to this, right? So you see these kind of a structure. So looking at this structure, three important components of the cell are observed. So what are the different components? So see, each of these small rooms which are enclosed by walls are known as cells. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are all cells, right, in the onion peel. Now if you see, each of these cells have this wall which encloses the cell. So this wall is known as the plasma membrane. So this covering of the cell is known as plasma membrane, right? Now inside the cell, you have something which fills the space inside the cell. So that is a fluid-like structure which is known as cytoplasm. Plasm always refer to some fluidy structure, right? So this is known as cytoplasm. And you would also see that inside every cell, you have a dot-like structure, somewhat like this. So in every cell, in this picture it is not very clear in every cell, but inside every cell you have a dark structure, comparatively darker than the rest of the cell, right? Then the rest of the cytoplasm, you will have a relatively darker structure that is known as the nucleus of the cell. So these are the three major or the three most prominent structures of the cell. So broadly, cells structure is divided into these three parts: cytoplasm, nucleus and plasma membrane. Other than these, you have the different components of the cell known as the cell organelles. So cell organelles are the different components which are present inside the cell somewhere in the cytoplasm, right? So we will talk about the cell organelles after we discuss these three important constituents of a cell, right? So when I talk of the structural organization of a cell, what are the components which I spoke about? Plasma membrane, which I just told you, the outer covering, right? The next one is a cell wall. So their cell wall is an additional covering which is present only in plant cells. Then you have the nucleus, you have the cytoplasm, and then you have the different cell organelles, right? So now we will start with plasma membrane. Right, as I mentioned, first we will complete these three important constituents, that is plasma membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. After that, we will talk about each of the cell organelles. So let us see what is a plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is also known as cell membrane. So sometimes you will see that many of the textbooks will use the word cell membrane instead of plasma membrane. So it is a thin, delicate, living outermost covering of a cell. So it is a thin covering, it is very delicate, not very rigid and hard, and it is living. It is not a dead covering, it is living, it has life. So it is a thin, delicate, living outermost covering of a cell. It ensures protection of the cell. Obviously, it is like a wall. For example, when I stay inside a room, I feel protected because I am surrounded with on all sides by walls, right? Similarly, the cell protection is ensured by the outer covering, that is the plasma membrane. When we look at the microscopic view of the onion peel, we can see the plasma membrane very prominently. So this covering of the empty spaces. So these covering of the empty spaces are nothing but plasma membrane, right? Okay. Now, when I look at this cell, what is this? What is this picture? This is nothing but an animal cell. An animal cell looks like this. So what are these so many things which are present inside the cell? These are the different cell organelles. We will talk about each of the organelles. one by one. So right now I am talking about the plasma membrane. So this is my plasma membrane, right? Okay. It is a selectively permeable membrane. So that's interesting to know what is selectively permeable. What do I mean by selectively permeable? When I say fully permeable means that the membrane allows everything to pass in and pass out. So that means anything can move in and out of that membrane. So that is known as fully permeable membrane. When I say selectively permeable, that means it selectively allows certain things to move in and move out. At the same time, there are certain things which it does not allow. So it selectively allows things to move in or out across the membrane. So we will discuss in detail about this selectively permeable membrane. How is plasma membrane a selectively permeable membrane? Let us understand this fact. So when I talk about selectively permeable membrane, we are actually going to talk about movement of substances in and out of the cell, because plasma membrane acts as a boundary of the cell. So whenever an object wants to come inside the cell or whenever an object wants to go out of the cell, it has to cross the plasma membrane. So here we will see how plasma membrane allows things to pass through it. Now, mainly there are two processes involved for the movement of substances across the cell. One is diffusion and the other one is osmosis. So what is diffusion? Diffusion is gaseous exchange between cells as well as cell and its external environment. Diffusion means, what does the word diffusion as such means? It means movement of gases from a region of high concentration towards a region of lower concentration. For example, let us suppose there is some gas, say oxygen. So let us suppose you have two different media. Let us suppose this is region 1, this is region 2. So let us suppose here the concentration of oxygen is higher and here the concentration of oxygen is less. So what will happen? Oxygen will start flowing from region 1 to region 2. So it will start flowing from region of higher concentration towards region of lower concentration. So this process is known as diffusion. So diffusion is one of the modes by which plasma membrane allows gases to move across it. So gaseous exchange between cells, let us suppose if there are two cells with different concentration of gases, so the gas will move from the cell with higher concentration towards the cell with lower concentration. Or if it is between the cell and its external environment, there also it will follow the same rule. It will move from higher concentration towards lower concentration. And what is osmosis? It is water exchange between cells as well as cell and its external environment. So the process remains the same, just that for gaseous exchange we use the term diffusion and for water exchange we use the term osmosis. So plasma membrane is a selectively permeable membrane. That means it will not always allow anything to move from any side to any side. It will only allow gases or water to move from the region of higher concentration towards the region of lower concentration. Right? So we will talk about it in little more detail. So let us first talk about diffusion. So what is diffusion? Movement of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen from a region of higher concentration towards a region of lower concentration. So from high to low. Right? Let us look at this scenario. Let us suppose this is that in the first scenario we have the animal cell. So this is the cell and in the surrounding it is the external environment. Now let us suppose that the concentration of carbon dioxide is more in the surroundings, and in this scenario the concentration of carbon dioxide is more in this cell. So in this case what will happen? Carbon dioxide will flow from region of higher concentration towards region of lower concentration. So this arrow, the blue arrow, shows us the direction of diffusion, in which direction CO2 will diffuse, right? So in this case, the plasma membrane will allow the carbon dioxide to move only along this direction. Right? Now if it happens the other way around, let us suppose that the concentration of carbon dioxide is more inside the cell. So in this case, in the first example, So let us suppose the concentration of carbon dioxide is more inside the cell as compared to the surroundings. In that case, carbon dioxide will start diffusing out. That means it will start moving out of the cell. Similarly, in this case, if the concentration of carbon dioxide is greater in this cell, so the carbon dioxide will flow from this cell towards this cell, right? So this is the process of diffusion. Similarly, let us talk about osmosis. In osmosis also the same thing will happen, but just that instead of gases we will have water. So movement of water from a region of higher concentration towards a region of lower one. So here also let me take a similar example. Suppose the concentration of water in the surrounding is more. So what will happen? Water will start entering inside the cell. Correct? Similarly, in this case also, when the concentration of water is more here, so water will start entering towards this region. Similarly, if it is the other way around, that means the concentration of water inside the cell is more. In that case, water will start moving out of the cell. In this case also, water will start moving out of this cell and it will start entering this cell. Right? Okay. Now, this movement happens. What is the cause of this movement? The basic cause of this movement is the difference in concentration. That means if we have both these cells with same amount of water, in that case what will happen? No osmosis will take place because both of them are at the same concentration. Nobody is at a higher concentration. And diffusion or osmosis will take place only if there is a difference in concentration, so that the gases or water can move from region of higher concentration towards lower concentration. Right? Okay. Now let us look at the behavior of a cell with different solutions. So what we will see, let us suppose we take an animal cell and dip it inside some liquid. So how does it behave? How does the behavior of the cell changes if the type of the liquid changes? So let us first look at the behavior with a hypotonic solution. Now what is a hypotonic solution? Hypotonic solution is a solution where the water concentration in the solution is higher than that inside the cell. Right? So that means the concentration of water in the solution is more than that inside the cell. So let us suppose if this is my hypotonic solution. So any solution will have some water, right? When I say salt solution, that means salt mixed with water. When I say sugar solution, that means sugar mixed with water. So it is some solution where the concentration of water is more as compared to the cell. So even inside the cell you have water. You also have water in the solution. So when I say hypotonic solution, that means the water concentration in the solution is higher. Right? So in this case, what will happen? Flow of water will take place from which direction to which direction? As per the principle of osmosis, water will move from higher concentration towards lower concentration. Now this is outside is higher concentration and inside the cell is lower concentration, right? So how will the water flow? The water will flow from outside to inside of the cell. Now as water keep moving inside the cell, what happens? The cell swells up, right? Because you are putting more and more water inside the cell. It is like a balloon. As you put more and more water inside the balloon, what happens? The balloon starts swelling up. So similarly, when a cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, water enters inside the cell. As a result, the cell increases in size or the cell swells up. Whereas on the other hand, when it is a hypertonic solution, that means the water concentration in the solution is lesser than that inside the cell, right? So in this case, what will happen? The concentration of water inside the cell is more and outside is less. So water will flow from inside the cell towards outside, right? So this is how water will move, and as a result, the cell will decrease in size. Right? So in this case, the cell will contract. It is like a balloon which has water inside. If you start taking the water out of the balloon, what will happen? The balloon will decrease in size. Right? So the same thing happens here in case of a hypertonic solution. Now please remember this. When I say hypotonic solution, hypo means, the word hypo means less. That means the concentration of water inside the cell is less. Now let us talk about isotonic solution. What is isotonic solution? It means the water concentration in the solution is same as that inside the cell. So inside the cell and outside the cell, the water concentration is the same. So in this case, what will happen? Since there is no difference in concentration, there will be no flow of water at all, right? Because osmosis will take place only when there is a gradient in concentration, whenever there is a difference in concentration. So here there is no difference in concentration, so water will not, so the net result is that water will not flow at all. Correct? Okay. Now let us talk about the structure of a plasma membrane. Now when I talk about the structure of a plasma membrane, I am talking about only this portion of the cell, right? So a plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. So now you are all aware of what is protein. You would have most of the times seen your mom asking you to have lots of pulses because they have more proteins, right? So you are aware of what proteins are, but what are lipids? Okay, so we will quickly talk about lipids also. They are related to, they are some fat-like structures, right? So we will talk about lipids quickly. So for now you understand that plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. The structure of the plasma membrane can be seen only through an electron microscope, which has a very good efficiency, because the structure of the, in fact you cannot see a cell with your naked eye, right? Even we can't see the cell. So when I talk about the structure of a plasma membrane, you obviously need an even better microscope, right? The structure of plasma membrane is often known as lipid bilayer structure. So we will talk about the lipid bilayer structure in little more detail. Okay, so for now let us see what are lipids, because first we should understand lipids in order to understand the lipid bilayer structure. So what are lipids? These are naturally occurring organic substances which are insoluble in water. As I mentioned, they are some fat-like structures, but they are not fats. Lipids are different from fats. So these are insoluble in water. They are organic substances. What are organic substances? Substances which contain carbon. So they are carbon-containing substances which are insoluble in water. Now, what are the different functions that lipids perform? They help in energy storage. They help in cell membrane construction, which we are talking about now. They are also very much useful in nanotechnology. Do you know what is nanotechnology? You would have heard many of your seniors would be talking about these days. Nanotechnology has got great value, so I am going to do my engineering in nanotechnology, right? So you would have heard things like that. So what is nanotechnology? This is a technology where you deal with extremely minute things, right? So we are not going to talk about all these things right now. What I wanted to tell you is I just wanted you to introduce with lipids. So what are lipids? These are organic substances insoluble in water. They help in energy storage. They help in cell membrane construction and also in nanotechnology. There are basically two types of lipids: non-polar lipids and polar lipids. When I say non-polar lipids, these are hydrophobic. Phobic means fear, phobia, you would have heard, right? Phobia. This fellow has a great phobia for ghosts. That means he has fear for ghosts. So hydrophobic, hydro means water. So something which has fear from water, that is water hater. So these non-polar lipids are water hater. They do not want to mingle with water. Whereas what are polar lipids? Polar lipids are hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means water lover. So these are the two categories of lipids. Here we will not talk about the structure of lipids. We will not talk about their examples in chains and all, because you will learn in detail about lipids in your organic chemistry in class 11th. So for now you should just know that what are lipids, so that I can talk about the structure of the plasma membrane. So lipids, there are certain categories of lipids which have both hydrophobic as well as hydrophilic end. That means hydrophobic end means one end hates water, the other end loves water. So these kind of lipids are known as amphipathic lipids. Amphi means both. So it is both hydrophobic and as well as hydrophilic. So such lipids are known as amphipathic lipids. Now, when I talk about the cell membrane structure, we will actually talk about the amphipathic lipids. That means the lipids which have both hydrophobic end as well as hydrophilic end. Let us look at some of the examples of lipids. For example, cholesterol, a free fatty acids. So you would have heard about cholesterol and fatty acids. In our day-to-day life, we use these terms. For example, we say that butter has a lot of cholesterol, so your cholesterol level will increase. So cholesterol is not exactly fat, but it is an organic substance which is insoluble in water, as I mentioned, right? So this cholesterol also helps to store energy, correct? So these are some of the examples of lipids. So now let us try to understand how the lipid bilayer structure is constructed. As I said, the plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins, right? So how are the lipids present here? And I also mentioned that the lipids which actually makes up this plasma membrane are amphipathic lipids. That means they have hydrophilic end as well as hydrophobic end. Now here in this picture you can see this kind of structures, right? Now this tail represents the hydrophobic end and this head represents the hydrophilic end, right? So here you can see that there are so many lipids arranged in such a fashion that their hydrophilic ends are all together, and this region represents the hydrophobic region. So the lipids are arranged in such a fashion that these one end represents the hydrophilic end. So the hydrophilic end forms one layer. After that, there is a region which is hydrophobic region, because all of these lipids hydrophobic ends is here. Similarly, all of these lipids hydrophobic end is here. So this forms the hydrophobic region, and again on this end you will have the hydrophilic end. Right? So these are the amphipathic lipids, and on this amphipathic lipids are embedded the protein molecules. That means on this you will have protein molecules present like this. So these are nothing but the protein molecules which are embedded on the lipid structure, and this is how a plasma membrane's lipid bilayer structure looks like. Why is it known as a lipid bilayer? Because there are two layers of lipids. If you see, this is one layer and this is another layer, but basically how it is like two layers of lipids. Their hydrophobic ends are towards each other, therefore there is a hydrophobic region in between. Right? So are you clear with the structure of the plasma membrane? Okay. So now proteins are embedded in continuous bilayer of lipid molecules. So this was the bilayer of lipid molecules, and on this you have proteins embedded in this fashion. So these are the proteins, right? Okay, so now let us look at the structure as a whole. See, this is how the structure will look like. These are the proteins. These blue colored structures are the proteins. Now, there are different types of proteins again, integral protein, peripheral protein. So we are not going to discuss about all those things now. For now, you should just understand the basic structure of the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane is the outermost covering. It is made up of proteins and lipids. There are two layers of lipids which is known as the lipid bilayer. So the lipid bilayer is arranged in such a fashion that all the hydrophilic ends are together. That these are the heads of the lipid, that is the hydrophilic ends, and all the hydrophobic ends are again together. So here you can see these are the hydrophilic heads. So they are often called hydrophilic heads, and the other side is often called hydrophobic tails. Right, so as a result, this region is known as the hydrophobic region, and in this lipid bilayer are embedded the protein molecules. That is why we say that the plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. Right, so we are clear with the structure of the plasma membrane. Now let us look at the function of the plasma membrane. The very first function is the protection of the cell. As I told you that it is an outer covering of the cell, and it ensures that the cell remains protected inside. Movement of substances in and out of the cell is governed by the plasma membrane. That means it is the plasma membrane who decides what all substances can move across it and in which direction. Now these substances include gases as well as water. by the processes of diffusion and osmosis, because the plasma membrane will decide whether the concentration is higher or lesser on which end, so which object is allowed to move from which side to which side. So the plasma membrane has to decide. Flexibility enables cell to engulf food and other materials from surroundings. So this is another new function here. That is, the plasma membrane is so flexible that it allows a cell to engulf food and other materials from surroundings. Let us look at an example. The best example for this is amoeba. So this is my amoeba. Now, because of the flexibility of the plasma membrane, as I told you before also, that amoeba does not have a fixed shape. So the plasma membrane here changes itself, and accordingly the shape of amoeba also changes. So the plasma membrane of an amoeba is extremely flexible, right? Now, how this flexibility helps amoeba to engulf food or to intake food? Look at this example. This process of engulfing food with the flexibility of the plasma membrane, this process is known as endocytosis. So this is known as endocytosis, right? So what happens in this process? Let us suppose this is the amoeba, and this is this blue colored object is some food material, let us say. Now what happens? This amoeba will change its shape in this fashion. So when it changes in this shape, in this fashion, the food molecule will enter inside this gap. Now, as soon as the food molecule enters inside the gap, the amoeba again changes its shape in this fashion. So that is how it helps to intake of food. So here the food was outside, now the food is inside amoeba, right? So because of the flexibility of the plasma membrane, amoeba can intake food, and this process is known as endocytosis, right? So this was another very nice function of the plasma membrane. Fine. Okay. So thank you. Please visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online tests, get the best quality study materials, study from the best tutors and mentors, and much more. Thank you once again.